There we go. It being 7:30. Okay, can we get this down just quite a bit? Technical difficulties here. All right. Lots of feedback here. Test, 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 test. All right, how's that? Everybody okay? No? Too much feedback? Okay. Can we take some of the reverb out of it? Listen to me, like I'm a professional. How about now? Is that much better? Okay, we still got some people coming in, so I'm going to give it just a few minutes here. Let's say 5 minutes to let some people come in and get a seat, and then we'll move on, okay?
That's better.
Better? Okay.
If you need a sugar,
I got a gum.
if you need some trail mix,
Actually, I can't. I'm pre-diabetic. I can't have any sugar. Can't have sugar, can't have
You're
carbs.
skinny as
I'm skinny as hell, but my A1C comes back high. I'm not, it's just, I'm looking at the doctor going, huh? You're talking about somebody else. It couldn't be me. I said, no. He says,
you got Tara's blood work.
He says, you're pre-diabetic. And he says, you need to do something about it now, because if you
Is
don't,
that Mr. Kai's son?
it is. It's great.
Oh my God. He looks just like his father. I just looked down and I went, "Ugh." Yeah, if you're pre-diabetic, I must have some damn good genes.
I mean, my brother is obese. Well, I won't say obese. He's big, and he's diabetic, or not pre-diabetic. He takes pills for it. That's the only one I've known of that has been. So.
I got bad knees.
Didn't
Number
you get
2
yours
is June
replaced?
15th.
Huh?
Number 2 is June 15th.
Ah.
You're welcome. That's why I'm here.
Okay, let's get this thing started. If you'd please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You'll remember last week I had inquired about the town reports because they weren't ready yet. They will be delivered to the town hall on June 14th. Can you come down just a little bit on the volume? I'm hearing myself in my ears. Thank you. It's available now on the website if you want to look at it. But there's a very fitting dedication this year to a former moderator, a former teacher, a former selectman, former historian, former all-around great guy, Gene Kai. And I'd like to read that dedication right now. I agree. It is with great appreciation and sadness that North Brookfield Board of Selectmen dedicate this annual town report to Gene Kai. Known as Gene to some people and Mr. Kai to his students and their parents, he unapologetically served the students and the citizens of his adopted town over 50 years. Gene moved to North Brookfield, where he began teaching career, and met his future wife in 1965. Gene and Carolyn were married and lived in North Brookfield, where they raised 3 children and remained until Gene's passing in 2020. In 1978, Gene ran and won a seat on the Board of Selectmen, where he served 3 consecutive terms. In 1999, Gene was elected town moderator and served in that capacity until 2013, and I was elected. In 2002, Mr. Kai retired from teaching high school history for 37 years. After teaching generations of North Brookfield students in a fair and unbiased fashion, chaperoning many classes and class trips that would have been his favorite, to what it would have been his favorite city, Washington, D.C., and modeling fairness and equality for students, Gene retired. However, he did not retire quietly. Gene served the North Brookfield in many ways over the years and continued after retirement. He served on committees to select principals and superintendents of schools, police chiefs, search committees, and many others. He was the town historian for many years and championed the repair of the townhouse. Gene volunteered his time at the library, spending Wednesday afternoons to help patrons find what they were looking for and to talk to whoever came in to chat. After retiring, After retiring from all that, Gene remained a good friend, confidant, and mentor to all of his friends and former students. Mr. Kai, you will be definitely missed. How do you beat that? I'll tell you. I'd like to point out 2 of Gene's children here. Could you stand up, Laura and Greg? These are 2 of Gene's children that are here tonight to help celebrate this dedication. All right. As you'll remember last week, Article 16, where we discussed appropriations of money to help the Arnolds with some problems at their home. There were mistakes made. I'll just be simple as that. I was in error on a number of things, and I did not have the confidence after that vote to let it stand. So I approached town council after last week's meeting, and we will rehear Article 16 tonight, and you will have another opportunity to vote on that. Mr. Arnold will have another opportunity to present his motion, and out of due fairness to everybody, we'll make sure that he gets a fair shake on this deal. Tonight's going to be a difficult meeting in the fact that we have to discuss money. And, you know, many families, all the arguments are about money. And tonight's no different for our town. So times are tough. The Finance Committee will not be giving a report tonight because they provided a lot of information, but will be available for questions. The key thing here is that we are voting on the bottom line. We're not here to discuss school choice. We're not here to discuss salaries. We're not here to discuss whether errors are made or whatever. That's not for us to decide at this meeting. It's something we need to talk about, but it's not something we will decide here tonight. So if you could, in your comments and discussions, keep in mind that the sole objective here is to appropriate the money for the schools and the other departments and to do it by the bottom line. Okay? Is there any questions on anything I've said so far? All right. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to fix the salaries of all elected and appointed officials of the town to determine what sums of money will be raised, appropriated, borrowed, or transferred in the Treasury to defray the charges and expenses of the town for the 12-month period beginning July 1st, 2021, including a reserve fund under the control of the Finance Committee, or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sums of money as written for the salaries and expenses to operate the following departments for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021. Town Moderator, Selectmen, Finance Committee, Accountant, Assessors, Treasurer, Collector, Town Clerk, Conservation, Central Mass Regional Planning Committee, Planning Board, and the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there anything to be said? Any discussion? Anything at all? All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 5, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, borrow, or transfer a sum of money to operate the water department for a 12-month period beginning July 1st, 2020, under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53F and 1/2, or take any action relative thereto.
Jim.
Oh. Oh, never mind. I do this every year. You'd think I'd get it after a while. Let's see.
Oh, that's the,
Article 4, second motion. I got these. I apologize for my... Article 4, second motion. There we go. Let's try this again. Article 4, to move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sums of money as written for salaries and expenses to operate the following departments for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021. Police, fire, building inspector, plumbing and gas inspector, wiring inspector, North Brookfield Emergency Management, and the tree warden. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sums of money as written for salaries and expenses to operate the following departments for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021. Police, fire, building inspector, plumbing and gas inspector, wiring inspector, North Brookfield Emergency Management, and tree warden.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Anything to be said? This is a lot harder when there's a lot of people here. Oh, okay. Can you come to the microphone, please, and identify yourself?
Ethan Malad, 17 Ashley Road. I just had one question for clarification. On the warrant that we received, Article 4 has a whole lot more within it in terms of the appropriation. So we're only voting on the specific departments that you're mentioning, even though that's not as written out here?
I don't follow your question.
So on here, Article 4 has virtually every department. And then Article 5 starts with water. And Article 6 is sewer.
Article 4 is broken up into 4 motions.
Not on here, it isn't. I don't, unless I'm misreading.
So, and they should be in an order relative to what you have in front of you.
So the second motion is on the back of the second page.
no, they have Article 4 as just written on the
Okay. Is there anything else to be said? Okay. All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 4, the third motion, to move that the town will vote to raise and appropriate the following sums of money as written for salaries and expenses to operate the school department for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the following sums of money as written for salaries and expenses to operate the school department for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021.
Is there a second?
Second?
I'm going to read the amounts so everybody's clear on what we're voting on. The amounts for this is North Brookfield Schools, $6,158,872. North Brookfield Medicaid expense, $6,000. Bay Path assessment, $423,108, for a total for the school department of $6,587,980. Total for the motion is $6,587,980. Is there anything to be said?
Would like to present a motion to amend this warrant. I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the following sums of money for salaries and expenses to operate the school department for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021. North Brookfield Public Schools, $6,312,844, a 2.5% increase over fiscal year 2021. North Brookfield School Medicaid expense, $6,000. Bay Path assessment, $423,108. Charter school assessment, $159,552,000. School choice out assessment, $689,471. And to further transfer the amount of $349,122 from group insurance to the school department expense account, for a total school of $7,590,975. Yeah, Meg Cloutier. I live at 15 Hillsville Road.
Okay, I'll need that in writing.
So we're not going to pay group insurance?
Is there a second?
I second.
Of course.
It's been moved and seconded to amend the Article 4 third motion to read, or to change the figures. And it says, I move to amend that the town raise and appropriate the following sums of money for salaries and expenses to operate the school department for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021. North Brookfield Public Schools, $6,312,844, a 2.5 increase over fiscal year 21. North Brookfield Medicaid, $6,000. Bay Path assessment, $423,100. Charter school assessment, $159,552. And school choice out assessment at $689,471, and to further transfer the amount of $349, right again, $349,122 from the group insurance to the school department expense, for the total of $7,590.09. Yeah. Yep, you're right. $7,500,000, oh boy. $7,590,975. I think I need to go back to the school. Okay, so what we're voting on here is the amendment. We will not be, this is not the main article, this is the amendment. The vote is to amend this. Is there any discussion on this amendment?
Pete Nagel from Summer Street. Why weren't those items included in the budget, the first amendment? You know, the school choice and the other items? Charter, school choice?
Because they're not part of the budget. It's numbers that are done at the state level as assessments against the money that we get from the state. So if you go to the cherry sheets from the state, they give us Chapter 70 money, which is aid. They give us general government aid. And from that bulk money, they then take out the assessments. So we get choice in money, and then they take out choice out money. And all that's done at the state level. So it's actually not part of the budget. So that number needs to go away.
So we haven't seen the cherry sheet numbers yet?
Oh, yeah, we have cherry sheet numbers.
we
That's
do,
that's
okay.
why we adjourned the meeting to
Okay.
final cherry sheet numbers aren't out. There's a
That's-
Senate numbers, House numbers. The conference committee between the two hasn't come out yet, but we have a general idea of where we stand for cherry sheet money, government aid.
Is there anything else to be said on the amendment?
Yes, Mr. Moderator, if I may,
Where am I seeing?
right next to you.
Oh, geez. The voice from heaven. I'm sorry, Dale.
So at the Finance Committee meeting last night, we were able to crunch some numbers. The assessors came up with a couple of $100,000 in solar fields that are coming off of pilots, payment in lieu of taxes, and they're coming on to the general revenue rolls, so there was a couple $100,000 there. We were able to get the school to level funding from last year. The numbers that are proposed are approximately $1 million over the amount of money that the town currently has budgeted for revenue. If you all came in and you got the revenue trends, you can see why we're in the position we're in revenue-wise. So for FY 2021, we only got 1.1% more total revenue in fiscal year 21 than we got in fiscal year 20. That equates to $89,000. So the town has, if the trend continues, will be under 1%, which will be less than $80,000, to allot to all the other departments. Most of the other departments took cuts already. So what will happen is we will have to cut further in order to fund at the levels that are now proposed. The 2.5% increase to the school budget is just fiscally impossible for the town, revenue-wise, but it will result in cuts elsewhere. So if we're going to fund the school to this level, then we've put forward a plan of what will have to be cut. And one of the things that will have to be cut is the transfer station. About $165,000, $170,000 a year in transfer station costs. So everybody's going to have to go out and get their own trash hauling service. So, you know, you see the signs all over town, strong school, strong town. I think it's just the opposite. The more money we give to the school, the less services you're going to have. So you're looking at losing the police department.
That's enough. No.
It's just it's a fiscal fact, sorry. You're going to lose the police department midnight shift, you're going to lose the fire department weekend shift, you're going to lose the transfer station. I mean, we prepared these cuts based on funding at the school level of 3% or so. So if you go up 2.5 plus all these other additions and transfers from insurance, it's going to be even more of a cut. I mean, street lighting was on the table, and that didn't go over well the last time we had to do that. So these are the choices that we're being faced with. So they just want you to realize the fiscal constraints that we're under. Those are the realities of the situation.
Please refrain from an outburst like that again. That's just uncalled for. All it does is inflame the discussion, and it gets us nowhere. All right, is there anything else to be said? Sheila?
Sheila Orsi, 12 Ward Street. So I didn't realize that the budget was over and above already what they had originally requested. It sounds like you're requesting higher? No. So then my next question would be, if we take, then this was my original question, if we take from the general insurance, what does that do to our town? How do we handle that? So it's not only just coming out of general insurance, it sounds like it's coming out of other department budgets as well, but how does that affect our town when we take that funds out of that general insurance? Because it sounds like we're taking about 300,000 or so out of that. I just think I want to be informed on that before I make a decision. I didn't know if anybody else would want to know.
Dale, can you respond to that?
What do we have for general insurance? Is that all of general insurance?
That's not mine, that's not,
The general insurance?
that's only funded at like 180,000. So.
Yeah,
without
it's,
the insurance.
there's a couple of different insurance line items. There's general insurance under the selectmen's budget, which is MIAA insurance, and that does any of the vehicles that we have in town, buildings that have to be insured, the townhouse and stuff like that. And then there's a general insurance under the treasurer's line item, which is the insurance for the employees. So I'm not sure which general insurance line item they're looking to impact, but I don't think the general insurance under the selectmen's budget has that amount of money in it. So it would have to be the other general insurance, which would affect health insurance for town employees. And I don't know exactly where we would make that money up from, but that's the only line item available for the general insurance, and it would impact our health insurance line item.
Okay. Can you come to the microphone, please? And, of course, identify yourself. You have a mask on. I don't know who you are.
Salary Baradowski, 2 Air Street. With the difference between the budget that the town approved and the one that was in the amendment, what have we lost for the school if we don't vote for the higher amount? Are we not going to have sports? What are we not going to have if we don't vote for it? And what we don't have, what will that translate into school choice out, which we're going to have to pay for anyway?
Would you care to speak to that? Okay.
So Maria Biter-Tucker, School Committee Chair. Although grateful that over the past month, money has been added to the school budget so that we are now level funded as opposed to $1 million cut where we started. If we are at level fund, yes, we will lose sports. We will lose activities at the high school. We will lose probably the world language teachers at the high school, and we will, the transportation will have to be cut. We are required by state law to transport, thank you, transport children between K through 6, but only 2 miles out. So any kid who's not in K through 6 and who lives less than 2 miles away from the school will not be on the school bus.
Sorry?
Maryland Barron, Summer Street. If you do in fact cut world language the accreditation for the high school?
Well, I believe what the plan would be to use, and Mr. Lynn, correct me if I'm wrong, we could use the computer program called Edgenuity, and that would not allow us to keep our accreditation. However, if you speak to any students in the middle school and high school and talk about the teachers who teach them world language, it would be something that they would really regret losing. They don't enjoy learning from the computer. And in some cases, I've had parents tell me that if the teachers are gone, then they're going to choice their children to another school district.
Can you come to the microphone, Chet? Chet, we can't hear you. Can you please go to the microphone and identify yourself so we know who's talking, and we want to get all your information.
In the amendment, you got 2.5% for salaries. How does that affect the programs we're talking about? You're talking about sports, you're talking about computers and so forth and so on, yet the money is not going to go to them, it's going to salaries. What's the connection?
I'm sorry, Mr. I'm sorry, I forget your last name. Can you repeat that question? I'm sorry.
I can't remember. In your amendment, you have 2.5% going to salaries. It doesn't talk anything about programs, sports, music, or what have you. And yet, you're cutting the programs and putting the money in the salaries.
So actually, if in the amendment, it doesn't actually say that it's going to salaries. It's going to the North Brookfield Public Schools. And I know this is something that people sometimes don't equate, but teachers actually equal programs. So coaches are teachers. The language teachers are teachers. The after-school activities, the class advisors, those are all teachers. So, programs, teachers, salary, it's all together.
What amount of money is 2.5%?
Now you're asking me to do math, Jed.
Well, you got to do the math.
I know, I got to do the math.
We need to know.
Yeah, I know. I know you need to know. I've got to, I'm going to have to get my calculator out.
Well, the amendment needs to be fixed anyway because there's some wrong numbers in it.
Meg Cloutier, 15 Hillsville Road. So one of the reasons why I got up to read this amendment, I am an educator in a neighboring district, and I have been a lifelong advocate for children. And part of the reason I feel really strongly about this, having been on school committee before, the budget process is always really very difficult. It's stressful, it's tough. I commend the educational leaders that do this and fight for what these kids need. But why I feel so strongly about it this year, and I know it causes difficulty for the town, and I know our town leaders are doing everything they can to provide for what's needed, but this is needed. We have seen one of the most difficult years in education. I work for a principal, he's been in education 40 years. He said this has been the most difficult year. If you talk to families, it has been really hard for families this year. They have taken on a responsibility for their child's education that probably they have never done before, and hopefully we never have to see again. But there are gaps in learning. And schools are required and need to and have a responsibility to service the students, to make sure that they have what they need, to fill those gaps. That includes with teachers and paying teachers. That includes with programs and interventions, and they need resources to do it. So that's why I got up to speak. I am a former school committee member, but I just feel very strongly families need this support, the school needs this support, and they need the resources to be able to help all learners, including those that struggled through this pandemic and having to learn in a completely different way. So I figured I would get up and speak as to why I said this amendment.
Oh, let her, Sheila, let her answer the question that Chet had, and then we'll move to you. Keep trying, it'll turn it on. Mic down the front. It's on.
Hello?
It's on.
Hello, okay. So Chet, the answer is the difference for, between the zero fund and the zero funded, level funded budget and the 2.5% increase is $153,971.80. And so just for clarification, group insurance was where we asked to transfer the amount out of. In my experience, group insurance is often used to transfer money to various departments. So I'm not sure how it would impact, our health insurance, our employees' health insurance, when it's frequently done.
Can I have the amendment back? Thank you. Sheila, go ahead.
Yeah, could we get a clarification on this amendment?
Right after you say who you are.
Oh, Sheila LeBlanc, 58 Shore Road, sorry. This amendment includes the charter school and the school choice out, which are, as Dale said, 2 assessments. So you're doing a total cost, including them, to raise and appropriate, and that's not what's done. I think you have to redo the addition on this motion, than the amendment.
Addition on the amendment?
On the amendment,
Okay.
because the amendment, they're basically looking for $7,590,000, but they're changing the motion and adding to it things that don't need to be there.
It does conform to the original motion. The only thing that's changing is the values.
The charter and the school choice is not in
Well,
the
I don't have the
original
amendment to
motion.
look at, so. We can cross that out and
So
All
you'd
right.
have to redo that math and re-explain it so they know what they're voting on, I think.
one at a time, please.
Mr. Moderator, point of order. You have a motion on the floor that was offered by the selectmen, and then you had an amendment offered that's out of order because it does not conform to the original motion that was made by the selectmen. So that motion is out of order. So they either have to conform their motion to the motion that was on the floor and make the adjustments in the dollar figures, and then represent that amendment, or we move on with the original motion. But the motion that was made for the amendment is out of order.
Well, I would disagree because it's still in the same scope of the motion. So,
No, it includes charter schools, which is not in the original motion, and it includes.
again, but it's an amendment, so they're amending to put charter schools in there, in their motion. Ideally, I
According to the
agree it
selectmen,
shouldn't be
you
there.
can't
but-
do that. According to the selectmen, it's an expenditure that comes from the town. It's not in the school's budget. You have to follow the selectmen on this
I
one.
have to stay within the scope of the article, and I'm in with the scope of the article.
You're not.
I am. If they cross it out, we'll move with what they cross out. Well, you'll have an opportunity to run against me or run for my seat in the spring, so. Well, while we're waiting on that, Mr. Milad,
I had a question while they're working on reworking that. So if it is coming down to roughly $150,000, my main question is, in the town budget, I see that the finance committee has a $50,000 reserve fund, which is actually up 20 grand from the past 2 years. I'm wondering what that's for and whether that 50 grand might not go to help fill this gap.
can you,
Karen Hubeck Kiley, 12 Madbrook Road, Chairman of the Finance Committee. So the reason that we've had that money in there is because there's so many things that come up that we have to do transfers. We've just done transfers for the fire department because we don't know exactly how many calls are going to be, or for the highway department because the price of steel went up and we had to put more money towards a chipper. So that money is only there pretty much in case of emergencies. So if that money gets taken and that goes to the school too, then how are we going to pay all these other incidental things that come up throughout the year? And if I could, we do countless hours to try to do things that are fair. And everything is always about the school. And we care about the school. The school is a big department in this town. But we also have fire, we have highway, we have police, we have all the other administrative costs that go into this town. If you take this money and it goes there, there's going to be substantial cuts that are going to hugely be detrimental. We have already sent out letters to all the other department heads. They've all been pretty much level funded, and to take into consideration a 2% cut. So, I mean, it's like any other family, okay? We're in a fiscal crisis right now as a family. We do all have choices to make. Can we take that vacation? Can we put more money over here into this? Well, I mean, our job as the Finance Committee is to assist the town in making that choice. It's your vote, but no matter what, there's repercussions to whatever you truly choose to do. Is a school important? Absolutely. We want our kids to have a strong education. I get that. But you know what? If there's not enough finances to fund everything, we're level funding the school from last year. There isn't one other department that is there. And the school takes 56% of our town finances already. So, and I get that. All I want you to know is we just want you to be informed so that you understand what your votes are tonight. And we're happy to answer any of your questions.
We're going to take her and then we'll get up to you.
As pointed out by our town accountant, the amendment was incorrectly stated. The monetary amount was incorrectly stated. The amendment has to be withdrawn. The person who made the amendment motion has to be withdrawn. Thank you, sir. It has to be withdrawn, and then you submit another correct amendment. That's the procedure for where we're going.
There you have it. I'm not going to argue anymore. So we have former moderator right here, 17 years. I'm not going to argue with her. She knows her stuff. So, do you care to
I respectfully withdraw my previous amendment, and I move to amend that the town vote to raise and appropriate the following sums of money for salaries and expenses to operate the school department for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021. North Brookfield Public Schools, $6,235,585, a 2.5% increase. North Brookfield School Medicaid expense, $6,000. Bay Path assessment, $423,000. $423,108. And to further transfer the amount of $153,971 from group insurance to the school department expense. Total school budget for I don't think I got my numbers right. Sorry. This one. This is 700. No, it should be 7 million, but I'm missing a number.
Oh, sorry.
while they're figuring it out, would you care to speak?
Yeah, to Tashina Holmes, 11 Union Street, North Brookfield. I actually just have a few basic questions. One is, just thinking about it, like, I know our revenue over the last 2 years hasn't been that great, but I also know that, I don't know, the last 2 years have been pretty crappy for everybody. So I'm sure that has something to do with it. I mean, are we really expecting our revenue to be the same or drop below? There's no COVID, well, not no COVID, still exists. But, obviously the restrictions are lifting, the businesses are going to be doing better and stuff. Wouldn't we expect our revenue to increase over the next year? And this is just like a one-time bad year for us?
That's something you care to address?
Well, that's why we did the projected revenue trends, and it's not just the last year, it's the last 3 years. You see a precipitous drop-off from what we had seen in the previous years. Just so you understand, Prop 2.5, the levy limit for 2.5, only applies to real estate taxes. So the only real number that we have is on the real estate property taxes, right? So we know that your real estate will go up 2.5%. The other numbers are not 2.5%. That's why you see motor vehicle excise taxes are dropping off. You see other revenues, which are tax levy liens that are redeemed, and some other miscellaneous, the pilots, the $3,000, that's dropped off quite a bit. And the personal property tax is not subject to the 2.5% override. So those numbers can fluctuate. So when you're doing a projection, if you're looking at your revenue trends, you can't project an increase in revenue into the next year when your trend is showing a decrease, which is why, if you look at the trends, we did 2012 through 2018, the revenue trend was going up, and we had 4%. So that's why we increased by 2% on the total revenue, not just on the real estate revenue, because our trend on total revenue was over 4%, which gave us more money to give out to the departments. But clearly, in the face of a downward trend, we can't say, okay, well, this year we're going to chance it, because what's going to happen is if we don't have the money, we either have to cut other services to make it in November when they set the tax rate, because the state won't certify our tax rate in November, or we have to dip into stabilization. And if you dip into stabilization to the tune of $480,000, you can only do that twice, and then we'll be at zero because we have less than $1 million in stabilization. And stabilization sets our bond rating for borrowing money. So if we need to borrow money, the reason why we were able to refinance this last year and save ourselves a lot on our debt was because we had a great bond rating with the money that we have in stabilization. If we take that out, the bond rating goes down, we can't borrow money. So if we go to borrow money, it's going to be a high rate, and you're paying on the other end.
So there's like absolutely no way that we could increase the revenue in the town.
Not over 2.5%.
So we couldn't do it, like, because, I mean, in all honesty, like, if we don't fund the school, I mean, how much do we lose? How much money are we going to lose next year? I mean, I have 4 kids in school, and 2 bonus kids. And let me tell you, I mean, I don't know about my husband and his ex-wife, but I can tell you that there's no sports, there's no STEM, there's no nothing. How am I supposed to send, I mean, and it's heartbreaking for me as a parent, but how am I supposed to send my kids to school like that? And then that's heartbreaking because, like, I know what that does to the school budget, and I know what it does to the town in the long run. I mean, you can't take money out of a business. If you look at it as a business standpoint, if you don't invest in your business, it's going to fail. And then that's going to cost the town more money, because I know we lose money every time we school choice out a student. And I know not just me, but I know that there's a ton of parents who have their kids on that list, depending on this meeting, which means next year we're going to be in even deeper waters. So we can't just say, oh, sorry, school, this year we can't afford you, because then next year we're really not going to be able to afford you. And then we're going to get in a lot more trouble. And I don't know how much that looks like, because, I don't know, all the details of how it all works. But I mean, I have a basic general idea that it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good for any of the kids. It's not going to be good for the town. We're not going to, I mean, parents aren't going to want to move, families are not going to want to move into town when the town doesn't even want to fund their school at a basic level. We're going to scare families away from moving into town, which means less revenue for the town as well.
Okay, so 2 points. You don't have to live in town to come to the school because school choice out allows people from surrounding towns to come in, so.
But no one's going to want to come in.
Please, let's not have a shout match here. It's not going to happen.
And nobody's going to want to come to town if we can't turn the street lights on and we can't provide other services. So these are choices that we're faced with, just fiscal reality. Money out cannot exceed money in. Basic fiscal reality. So.
But we
Okay.
can't increase the taxes, and we can borrow money for this year, because it was just a one bad year. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move over here back to the motion again, or the amendment.
Sorry, I appreciate your patience, everyone. I'm going to reread. I move to amend that the town vote to raise and appropriate the following sums of money for salaries and expenses to operate the school department for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021. North Brookfield Public Schools, $6,235,585. North Brookfield School Medicaid expense, $6,000. Bay Path Assessment, $423,108. And to further transfer the amount of $153,971 from group insurance to the school department expense account for a total school of $6,813,264.
Is there a second? Okay, Mr. Ryle, does that meet with your approval? I want you to be happy with this motion. Is that? Well, we don't go by Robert's rules, so I beg to differ. Just for everybody's information, we go by town meeting time rules at this meeting, not Robert's rules, so Robert's rules are irrelevant to this meeting. Okay. Does anybody need to hear this again? Would you like me to reread it? Yes? Okay. I move that to amend the town vote to raise and appropriate the following sums of money for salaries and expenses to operate the school department for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021. North Brookfield Public Schools. Okay, $6,235,585, a 2.5 increase over fiscal 21. North Brookfield School Medicaid, $6,000. Bay Path Assessment, $423,100 or $108. And to further transfer the amount of $153,971 from the group insurance to the school department expense account for a grand total of $6,813,264. All right, we had a second, I believe. Yes, okay, thank you. Is there anything to be said on the amendment? Anything to be said on the amendment?
Pete Nagel again from Summer Street. Is it possible to simplify what we gain and what we lose based on the $13 million budget versus 6.8 million, 6.5 million versus 6.8 million for the school budget? If we fund that amendment, what do we lose on the other side?
On the town side of the budget, is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The money's got to come from somewhere, so you have to lose something. Based on those numbers.
So based on those numbers, it's about $225,000 that we don't have currently. So we would lose about $140,000 or so with the town dump transfer station. So you'd have to get your own hauling company to take away your trash. We'd have to close that. We would lose probably the police department midnight shift, the fire department weekend coverage, salt for the roads in the wintertime, that's $75,000. So we wouldn't salt the roads in the wintertime. It would only be plowed when it's plowable. And street lighting.
numbers you're talking about now exceed 285,000.
Oh, do they?
So are we going to lose all those things?
Well,
Some of those.
so if you lose the transfer station actually brings in revenue, but not enough revenue to sustain itself, so we're upside down on that. So we get rid of that at 140, but we also lose money on the revenue side. So selling the trash bags, recycling some stuff, we make some money. The dump stickers, we make money. So you're only actually seeing a net revenue offset of about 70,000 on that. Then $75,000 for salt, so there's 150,000. That's what, a little over half of what we're short now. You get about maybe $80,000, probably less than that for the midnight shift. You get $12,000 for the fire department evening shift. Street lighting, we wouldn't eliminate all of it, but most of it, so $25,000 would be off of that. And then some minor things to make up the difference, but there's not a lot of extra space in the general budget to make up that difference. Plus, the general insurance side, I don't know that you can sustain that, so we would have to cut somewhere else to make up that transfer also.
This side, please.
Oh, thanks. Elizabeth Malad, 17 Ashley Road. I have just a couple quick budget questions. One is, what is accounting for this declining revenue? And then the second question is, to what extent can we take into account American Relief Plan or program funds? I believe North Brookfield is scheduled or has already partially been getting $1.4 million. Can that be put towards stabilization? And then I just wanted to, looking at the revenue trend, just the 1.1% difference, is that indicating the difference between the projected revenue and the total revenue? What is the percent difference? Just because I'm looking at, 2020 to 2021, and I'm seeing total revenue actually went up in that column. And I think maybe I'm misreading the sheet because... So I'm sorry, three-part question.
So the percentage difference is the percent that we made more than the previous year. So
Okay, so so would I go off of the total revenue column for that?
Total revenue column, so in 2020, the total revenue was $7,392,108. 2021, our total revenue was $7,700,655. The difference between the two is $89,000, so it's a 1% increase over the prior year, total revenue.
But that's over $300,000. That's why I was confused. And I think if I did the math correctly, it's like close to a 4% increase. So that's why I was wondering, yeah.
Yeah, so, sorry, it's the difference in what we projected.
Yeah, that's what I asked originally.
Yeah, what we projected into what we took in. So we started projecting 2% total revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take the total revenue from 2020, $7,392,000, we projected that would increase 2%.
Okay.
That's the $7,610,000 number. We took in $7,700,000, which is only 1% over what we projected that we would take in.
But it's a significant revenue increase over the previous year.
But if your projections are too low, then
Okay.
the next year, if we project 2% next
Okay.
year,
Okay.
and we take in less than 1%, we're going to be upside down,
Okay.
and we're going to need to get
Okay.
money somewhere, right?
So I guess also my question is, Why the difference between what was projected and what came in revenue-wise?
I don't have a crystal ball, I guess. You just don't know. I mean, the revenues go down, so. motor
Right, what's
vehicle excise
causing the
tax went-
revenues? Like, what's driving this drop in revenue?
I wish I knew. If we knew that, we could solve the problem, right? I mean,
Okay, we're
it
getting
is
out,
what it is. I can't change
Okay,
the
okay.
number.
we're getting out in the weeds here, so.
Okay, but in the federal relief money, can that be, if we're talking about cutting the transfer station and not being able to salt the roads, is it possible that $1 million plus from the federal government can be put towards stabilization accounts and we can avoid these cuts?
Okay, so the 1.4 million in ARPA was, in Massachusetts, we don't have a county government, so the federal money came out and it gave money to the county governments. Since we don't have county governments, the state said, we're going to divide up the county money by each town by the people that they have in it. So they're projecting that we're going to get county money, and that would equal 1.4 million. What we're actually getting is 500,000. There's a ton of limitations on it, so you can only spend it in certain ways. Cannot go into stabilization, and it cannot be spent on anything that's not related to COVID infrastructure. So PPE and filtration for the school, which we've already upgraded on the regular CARES Act money. So it can't be used for anything we currently have pending in the budget. So.
Somebody can read the question. Okay, over here, if you identify yourself, please.
Michaela Adams, 6 Benoit Street. Mine is more of like a clarification into a question for everyone here. My understanding is that the courses that would be cut is world language, phys ed, arts, music, theater, and sports. So my question for everyone to keep in mind here, as well as the Board of Selectmen, is how can we provide the kids in these school systems to have a strong education, as someone stated, if we cannot provide the basic needs and fundamental courses for them to express their creativity and athleticism? Thank you.
Great, thank you. I guess that's an open-ended question that I don't think anybody has the answer for. So, over here, please.
My name is Christy O'Master. I'm 40 Barnes Road. I want to bring the discussion back to the kids, because that's why I'm here. I'm here for my child and for the school's children. And I have a statement to read. It'll keep me germane to the point. And no disrespect for the town. I love my town. I like salt on the roads. I live at the top of the hill. But I just want to talk about the kids just for a few minutes. So I'm the newest school committee member. I'm also the mother of a 3rd grade student that attends this school, and my son is a freshman at Bay Path High School. I'm here to talk to you tonight about our schools and how important it is for our community as a whole to support them. I have an abbreviated message of my Voices project. I will have one student comment at the end because I'm going to keep it short. I want the community to learn how the children really feel about these cuts to their school. These children are going to become the victims of this situation if the budget is not passed. My daughter and other children like her are just waiting to see what the adults of this community right now are going to decide about their future. They're trusting that you have their best interest at heart. You walked through the high school students when you came here. You looked at those signs. They're begging you to make their future better. They are also our future citizens and our future voters. So, back to my statement. One thing to note, a school system with strong music, art, and foreign language program will bring revenue into the town, as families will move here seeking these opportunities for their children. I did. The reverse will also occur. The elimination of such programs will drive families from our town. To conclude my statement, I'm going to read, actually I will read the kids' voices because there's one that's cute.
Is this really necessary? Okay, well, the reason I ask is because we're kind of getting off in the weeds as to what I talked about earlier about the bottom line.
I
And-
have
and-
timed my statement to keep it under 3 minutes out of respect for the people that are listening.
Okay.
I have a few more minutes.
It's been motion to move to question. Is there a second? Yes, there is. I'm sorry, but you've been preempted by the question. So
Thank you.
it's been moved to question and seconded. Those in favor of moving the vote on the amendment to a question or to the vote, please raise your hands. Those opposed to, wait a minute. You got ahead of me here. Those in favor of moving to the vote on the amendment, please raise your hands.
Without hearing everything else?
All right, those that are not in favor of moving on to the vote for the amendment, raise your hands. The motion to move to question carries. We're now going to vote on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment as written, please signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Okay, I can't get a good vote on this. This is going to be a ballot vote. If the tellers would come forward, please. I'm responsible for making sure that there's a very valid vote here. If I can't determine that the number of hands is equal to a majority or a minority, I'm going to go to a ballot vote so everybody has a fair opportunity. Okay. Both ways? It worked much better going one direction. Okay. We're going to go clockwise here. If you come down this aisle, get your ballot. The ballot box is up here marked vote here. A yes is an approval of the amendment to increase the amount of funding. A no does not approve of the funding increase. Your ballot goes in the ballot box. Your discard goes in the trash bag marked trash. Hi, Pete. How you doing?
downtown and.
And that still comes to the amount of money that's listed. He's doing a good job.
I'm probably not.
You know what Gene would have said? You're moving over to that side now? No, you're not.
Can you try and go single file when you go past the tellers? They're having trouble identifying who they've given a ballot to and who they haven't. So if you could single file up to them. Thank you. Last call to vote. Last call. Hey, Michaela, you're not done.
What's 151? Huh? What's 151?
I don't know, I put these up here, 2 packs.
Okay. Yeah, can someone put those in an envelope?
That's your job, not mine. What's the damage?
I don't know, I gotta use my calculator now.
Oh, okay.
You think I'm that good?
Yeah.
And I heard that the total was wrong.
Okay. Thank you. $105, no? All votes having been tallied, the yes votes are 157, the no votes are 105. The amendment passes. Now, don't get all excited now. You've still got to vote on the article. Okay, so now, I'm back to discussion on the article. Is there anything to be said on the original motion, or the amended motion, excuse me? Anything to be said on the amended motion? I can do that. You want the amended motion? Okay. The amended motion, as it stands now, is moved that the town vote to raise and appropriate. Hang on. I get too many papers. There we go. The original motion was to move the town vote to raise and appropriate the following sums of money as written for salaries. Okay, we can't do that anymore. So I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the following sums of money and salaries for expenses to operate the school department for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021. Public schools, $6,235,585, 2.5 increase over fiscal year 21. North Brookfield School Medicaid expense, $6,000. Bay Path assessment, $423,108. And further to transfer the sum of $153,971 from group insurance to the school department for school department expense for a grand total of $6,813,264. What? Okay, Chief Holloway.
Yes, Joe Holloway, Fire Department. There's just a couple things that I kind of wanted to say before the amendment went through, and I'll keep it short. I've been doing this for a long time, and I went to all these meetings. The numbers they're throwing at you are real. There is no money. I wouldn't stand here and tell you if it wasn't true. And I love the school, don't get me wrong. And my brother taught here for 30-something years. But they're getting level funded. If we take a hit, I'm $124,000 for my whole budget. We're doing almost 400 more calls in the last 3 years alone, and we're trying to keep up to it. And we've been level funded for 4 years, but we seem to make it work somehow by doing shuffling, doing whatever. But there's a hidden monster in this whole thing, I think. I spend hours on ISO ratings at the firehouse. Now, for people that don't know what that is, it's the Insurance Safety Office, and all your homeowners' insurances go to this professional agency to get their ratings on how they're going to assess a town and what they're going to charge you for your homeowners' policies. Now, I can tell you right now, it's extremely detailed. They want to know how many thousand feet of hose I have, water I carry, if I take a truck out of service, any one of these things. I start taking personnel out, or you take a police officer off a shift at night, the most dangerous time in the... I can't even fathom that. I'm telling you right now, this can be detrimental. And what will happen is, when we fill out these forms, and I drop my personnel off the weekend shifts that are doing all of the NFPA requirements right now, all the insurance stuff, everything that goes along with it, your house insurance is gonna go up. So we're trying to build a station. You know, we're cutting corners for that. We're trying to use Hucks. We're trying to do whatever we can to be fiscally responsible and make it as, try to take care of highway, fire, everything, all EMS, all in one shot. And everybody's doing their part, and, you know, we talk about bad schools. I mean, the school was great last year. They were level funded. They're getting level funded again this year. And it's nice to see a nice big crowd and support the kids, and I'm all for it too. But in the same token, what they're saying is real. And it's gonna have a heavy hit, and it's not just gonna affect that. When they go out for this ISO rating again, and they do have to cut what they're saying they have to cut, you're all gonna pay for it in homeowners insurance, one way or another, when that rating comes out. And then we're gonna be looking to come at you to see if we can get the highway built and everything else that comes down the pike. So I wish there was enough money for everybody to be happy here, but $12,000 out of my budget, it's gonna kill me. I mean, we operate $4 million worth of equipment, 28 men. We're doing 500 more calls. We're almost up to 1,000 calls a year because the area's growing. All the farmland's getting sold off of houses. And that's just me. I can't speak for the police and everything, but I can't even fathom the thought of a police officer not being around at night. That's when we go to our worst calls. So it's real. I don't think they're bullshitting us from what I've seen at the meetings. So it's just something to think about, but it's going to have other effects.
I don't think so.
Besides this. Thank you.
Over here, please.
DiMaggio, 27 Fulham Hill. I'm going back to the revenue trend sheet. Year over year is what the money difference and also the percent difference is for every year until this year. And this year, the formula changed from total revenue to total revenue projected, which is where you got the 1.1%. So I'd like to point out these numbers are slightly disingenuous if they're trying to point out a downward trend. If you look at the total revenue projected, it's a 2.9% increase over last year. And if you look at the total revenue page, it's a 4% increase over last year. So when we're looking, and I understand we might have had a blip with COVID and things might have dipped in 2020, but we're back up to a 3 to 4% revenue increase. It's 300,000, not 89,000 year over year. So I just wanted to make sure we're all looking at the same numbers and looking at the same trends.
Okay, here.
Hi, Ashley Altman, 98 Summer Street. I wanted to point out that the total for the amendment of $6,813,264 is incorrect. The total should actually be $6,818,664.
We're going to recalculate here. See if there's a math error. Do it one more time. First round, she's correct. The numbers are off on what's on the amendment here, so we're going to do it one more time and adjust accordingly. All right, none of the numbers in the actual motion have changed with the exception of the total. And the total, I thank you very much for your studious math there, is now $6,818,664. Well, when you went from, just the bottom total went from 6,813,264 to 6,818,664. Okay. Ma'am? Over here? At the microphone?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Question
I'd like to be
about-
there.
Question about this whole thing. You say that a stronger school builds a stronger town. However, you're taking money from the town to the school, but you're weakening the whole town. Why do you think that's it? Because if there's more money for the town, that builds the stronger school. And I can see that this town is going to plummet down if we keep taking money from the town itself. If we want more people to come into this town, we're going to need more provisions for the town itself, not the school. I understand that we're going to be missing a lot of like the arts and maybe not even give the teachers higher salaries. However, the whole town is what's important here. I understand all these things about the school, but the whole town needs the support it like actually needs.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So,
Can I have your name, please? You didn't identify yourself. I'm sorry.
Rebecca Warren Street?
Okay. All right.
Hi, Trevor Brusso, 7 New Braintree Road. I'm on the Board of Health, and as far as the transfer station goes, the last time we did the numbers, it was very close that we were in the black, actually. That was 2 years ago, so I don't know exactly where we are, but if we do close, I don't know the mechanism to do that. So people have paid through the calendar year, so I would assume if we closed July 30, we'd have to reimburse those people for half the money, so we'd start off with $35,000 hole, right? Does that sound right? I'm asking. Like it's a subscriber service, right? Plus the town, we take care of the town's trash that way. What I'm worried about is, sure, we could go to all pickup, but then all your roads, like your Crooks Road, your Murphy Road, that's where all the couches are going to go. That's where the TVs are going to go, and that's where Monster Bridge Road or whatever, Heinz Bridge Road. I just showed how old I am. So that's where all that stuff's going to go, and the town's going to pay for that. The town pays for it now, but it is subsidized through the subscribers at the transfer station. So that's another cost that's going to get incurred there. So if we make those decisions, let's just not make them and say, done. Let's figure out how to do it the right way with the least amount of impact. All right?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else to be said?
Tashina Holmes, 11 Union Street. I just want to point out that I strongly feel like, as people have stated many times, that the revenue numbers are not quite accurate to what 2021 will actually bring, and that these are empty threats from the select board trying to scare people from not funding the school. They're just, the numbers don't make sense, like closing the transportation, doesn't make sense. That wouldn't actually increase the numbers for the town. It doesn't make sense at all. Closing the school, or not closing the school, decreasing the funding for the school, which I know you keep saying they're at level funding, but that doesn't work that way. Teachers are under, contracts with salary increases. So they can't underfund the school without cutting things, and then the school is going to lose money. The town will lose money. We'll be in a much bigger hole if we don't fund the school this way, and I strongly feel like there's not going to be a bunch of it's not going to be as drastic as the town is trying to make it out to be just because we fund the school with their proposed budget.
Thank you. Can we get the mic on up here? There. Gotcha.
Karen Huback Kiley, 12 Madbrook. Chair of the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee goes and submits this stuff to the Board of Selectmen and to the townspeople. I think your first mistake is that you say, "I feel," okay? It's not about feeling, it's about numbers.
Please address your comments to the moderator. Thank you.
So the issue is, and I think, there's a lot of feelings here. People are very emotional, but honestly, it's a budget, okay? If you have X amount of dollars here, and you have to pay X amount of dollars here, you have to figure out how to do that. That's all it is. And I get what everybody says about the school. We want to fund the school, but we also want to fund the transfer station and the police department and the fire department and all the other administrative costs that come to the town. There's no hanky-panky going on. We do a lot of hours here and give up our time to help this town. So I just want to be clear to everybody. We're here because we love this town. You must be here because you love this town. So for you to say there's shit going on, as far as the finances, there is not.
Okay, that's, okay. All right. Chief Smith, did you wish to speak?
Yes, I'd like to be recognized to speak, please.
Okay, just a second. Chief Smith is our police chief. He is not a town resident. Is everybody willing to hear what Chief Smith has to say? Okay, go ahead.
Well, thank you. When I heard the potential cuts that were coming down, it scared me more than anything. And just listening to right now, I hear people talking about the transfer station, and I get it. But no one's talking about the fact that one of the cuts is losing the one police officer that we have on at night. The one police officer that responds to your all houses for medical emergencies. If the wolf shows up, if the bear shows up, if something bad's going on, that one person on is not going to be there. That one person, and I've heard the comment, and I'll address the state police comment, that will work if they're not in Kelly Square. They'll make it up here. But the problem is they have a lot of territory to cover, so it's not just that easy. We work in conjunction with EMS and the fire department. When there's that EMS call, most of the time, if not all the time, we're going to get there first. And that's not a slight to them. That's just because we're up and ready, and we're going to do our job by identifying where the house is so EMS doesn't have to waste their time. They'll look for the blue lights. But we're going to show up to your house with a defibrillator, which if you're having a heart attack or had a heart attack, pretty much the one thing that's going to save your life. We're going to be there in minutes, not coming from Kelly Square. We are, as far as I know, the biggest Brookfield of the Brookfields. We have the most population, and we would actually be the only town that didn't have a midnight 11 to 7 shift on. What does that say? I mean, it's there for you, and this isn't about anything against the schools. The principal will tell you, I love the schools, I'm there all the time, used to be until COVID started, and I plan on, we were just talking about being back there again. But it scares me what is going to happen to everybody in this town when you have nobody there. It's going to take that much longer for someone to get to your house when that emergency is happening. And I think a lot of people think that crime probably won't happen, and chances are it won't. And God, I hope it doesn't happen to anybody. But the one thing that does happen is medical emergencies. I actually did the past 6 months, just so when I came in here I could give you an idea, because I think a lot of people, and this isn't new, other towns have talked about this, and it's been defeated many of times when people thought, because people think nothing goes on at night. And I get it. You wouldn't know. I do. My officers do. And I ran the numbers in the past 6 months, and 49.7% of my calls, 49.7% of the calls come in between 11 and 7. It was kind of startling. I did the numbers a couple of times to make sure I wasn't messing it up, because I don't want to get up here and give you the wrong numbers. That's a lot of calls. That's a lot of property checks. That's a lot of emergency calls. That's choking calls or armed home invasions that do happen. They do happen in North Brookfield. You may not hear about it, but they do. There's a lot that goes on in this little town. And we are all blessed with the men and women that we have in this department, because they go out there and they do a lot with very little. But that's okay. We understand that there's cuts that need to be made and stuff like that, but I feel strongly that this is a safety issue that we need to think about. Again, I keep hearing about the transfer station. Again, I get it. I pay for my trash to be picked up. I'd rather not pay for it, but I do. But we're not thinking about, there's going to be no police officers in your town from 11 o'clock at night till 7 o'clock in the morning. Nobody to call. I mean, you can call, they'll still have 911, that'll work. But they'll get somebody from somewhere, I'm sure, the state police. Again, this isn't a slight against the state police, but they have a lot of area to cover. And to be honest with you, they're going to be migrating towards Worcester. You're having that heart attack or that medical emergency, do you want that waiting? Granted, our EMS and fire, spot on. But as a team, law enforcement, EMS, and fire, we get it done, and you deserve that. I did the cost of what it comes down to have the midnight to 8 shift without benefits, just the salary cost. It comes out to be almost 4 to 5 cents per person per day. So if you start doing it, if you have one person or 4, you can do the math there, 5 cents a day per person in a household to make sure that you have coverage. And again, I get it. A pro school. Listen, I have a daughter that just graduated Columbia Law School. I love schools. I know what they can do. So this is nothing against that, but this is something about rethinking about what you're giving up. It's a lot more than a transfer station. It's your safety knowing that within minutes, one of my officers will be at your house to either save your life if you're having a medical emergency or to save you from when the wolf shows up, because they're out there. And one of the other things to think about is if you were going to do something wrong, think about it. Put yourself in the bad guy, bad woman scenario. Are you going to go to the town with police or without police? I talked to some people, and they used to tell me the stories in living in this town. Oh, we used to always go to this town because we knew there was no cops there. I don't want that for you. I think it's something that really needs to be thought about of what you're giving up here. It's a lot more than the transfer station. It's your lives, it's your safety, it's your health. And our men and women are there for you and always will be. Because we know the one thing that, it's funny, when I describe this department, when I just had a new person come on because we had somebody leave, one of the things I always tell them, I talk about, and if you ask them, it's not because I'm standing before you, if you ask them, they will tell you I've said the same thing over and over again. You know what's great about this town? So many things. But one of the biggest things that's important, or the greatest thing about why working in this town is so awesome, because we know the support that we get from the townspeople. That's what makes our department thrive, because of your support. And that's why our officers, when they come to work, they love the fact that they're here, and they love the fact that they can serve you, protect you, and make sure that you're healthy. And that's because of you, the voters, the people that live in this town. So I thank you for the support, and I hope that you'll take some of the words that I just spoke and let them weigh a little bit heavy on you, because we want to be there for you. But cutting out that 11 to 7 shift, it's not the answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Is there anything else to be said? Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded to move to question. All those in favor of moving the vote to question, raise your hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to the vote. All those, I'm going to vote this backwards because I don't know how close it's going to be split, so it's a little easier to do it backwards. All those that are not in favor of the amended article or amended motion, please raise their hand. All those that are in favor of the amended motion, raise your hands. The ayes got it. So the motion passes. We're on Article 4 now, right? For the fourth motion. Okay. I put my sheet away. Go ahead, Dale.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the following sums of money as written for salaries and expenses to operate the following departments for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021. Highway, Board of Health, Cemetery, Council on Aging, Veterans, Library, Playground, Town Beach, and Town Park.
Is there a second? Thanks. It's been moved and seconded. Is there anything to be said on the motion?
Yep. No.
Anything to be said? All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 5, to see if the town will move to vote to appropriate the following sums as written to appropriate, operate the water department for a 12-month period beginning July 1st, 2021, under the provision of Mass General Law, Chapter 44. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate the following sums as written to operate the water department for the 12-month period beginning July 1st, 2021, under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44.
Is there a second? Second. Been moved and seconded. Is there anything to be said on the motion? Anything at all? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That was 5, right?
Yep.
Article 6, to see, oh, got too many papers up here. Fifth motion. Article 6, to see, wait a minute. I got motions again. Sorry for the technical difficulties, folks, but I don't have my articles. I got one. There we go. We're on Article 6. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, borrow or transfer a sum of money to operate the sewer department for a 12-month period beginning July 1st, 2020, under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53F and 1/2, or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the following sums be appropriated as written to operate the sewer department for the 12-month period beginning July 1, 2021, under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53F, 1/2.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Is there anything to be said on this motion? Anything at all? All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're up to 14 now, all right? Article 14, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds a sum of money to the North Brookfield Emergency Squad or for the payment of contracted services or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to the North Brookfield Emergency Squad Service Contract Account, and further move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $68,000 to the North Brookfield Emergency Squad for ALS services for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Is there anything to be said on this motion? Anything at all? Sue, you got anything? Okay. All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. On the 15. Article 15, to see if the town will vote to accept the sum of money as the town's apportionment of, what? Oh, we did, I'm sorry. And we're up to Article 16. Is that correct, gentlemen? Okay. We're up to Article 16. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to move that
to see if the town will vote to approve and appropriate $22,000 to correct problems with stormwater from town streets and adjacent properties that cause flooding at the residents of 94 Summer Street, North Brookfield, Mass. And the land and streets downstream on Prospect Street and Summer Street to be used by the town highway department to contract and correct stormwater problems or act on anything related thereto.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Are you prepared to make a presentation? We presented this once before, but there's a lot of new people here that probably haven't seen what this is about. If you bear with us a little bit, Mr. Arnold can bring us up to speed. You might want to turn the projector on, Bruce.
We have an AV tech here.
We got lots of AV techs here. Go ahead. Oh. Yeah, tonight we hit the bonus on cameras and mics and the whole shooting match. You know, for the folks that are leaving, you know, what you voted on was important, just as important as Mr. Arnold's issues. So.
Could I have that AV guy over here to give me a hand again?
I'd like to take this opportunity while we're waiting on technical difficulties here to congratulate the graduating class of North Brookfield and also of Bay Path High School for the students that go there. We were lucky tonight to have the superintendent from Bay Path as well as the fiscal officer for Bay Path. They've since left, but they were here tonight to take part in our meeting because, again, they care about our district just as much as we do. So.
Okay, folks, sorry to do this, but you know what? I'm not going to apologize anymore about this. It's something I need to get done. So I've already read this. Is that correct?
Yes, you have.
Okay. I've already read this once, and that satisfies the requirement of reading it for the meeting.
It does. Yeah, you're all set, Bruce. Just do your presentation.
So we're good to go there. Okay, Deb and I have lived here in North Brookfield since 1982. We've raised 4 kids here in town. It's a great town. We've both been very active as volunteers, coaching in youth sports. We worked on local committees, T-ball, soccer, Little League, youth soccer, Boy Scouts. Deb has volunteered for the school, and she served on the school committee. The problem we have at our house is that of stormwater from town streets and runoff coming into our basement. Now, and this is on a regular basis, and this is what our yard looks like after 1.5 inches of rain. This is not unusual. This happens frequently. In fact, I was up Saturday morning at 3 o'clock in the morning. So essentially, the water from the basement then needs to be pumped out of the basement out into the side yard. It flows into the yard. It goes across Prospect Street and Summer Streets. Since 1982, we've had these problems with our basement flooding because of clogged underground culvert, which is connected to the town stormwater system. That is, this is town ancient infrastructure that's failing. The town stormwater infrastructure can no longer handle heavy rain, snow, ice, or runoff. Over the years, this problem's continued to get worse, and we have to have installed 3 sump pumps to take care of the problem. We first asked the town for assistance with the problem in 1989 when guys were shot out of our yard, and the kids were little, after heavy rain and extreme pressure because of the clog in the system going to the storm drain. And remember, I keep saying storm drain. That is town infrastructure. This underground brook is connected to it. The geysers create dangerous sinkhole conditions and it floods our basement. Ray Blake, the highway superintendent, resolved the problem by excavating, cleaning out the storm drain and the culvert. This set a precedent to the town's responsibility. He also dead-ended a pipe that came down between houses into this underground brook that is right in back of our house. That pipe came from a catch basin up on Maple Street. And again, this is typical of the water runoff after 1.5 inches of rain. So anyway, Blake told us, neighbors told us, that this gray water brook was buried under the ground. It originates somewhere up around High Street, passes west to east between the backyard properties of our block, bounded by Summer, Prospect, Maple, and High Street. It then continues on an angle across our property where it connects to the storm drain at the corner of Prospect and Summer. This culvert, or underground brook, is a closed fieldstone brook. That is, fieldstone on the sides, fieldstone on the bottom, and on the top, and then it's covered with dirt. It's about 12 feet under the ground. And it's been in the ground, Blake said, since the 1900s. So this kind of gives you an aerial map of where we are. The circle is where our house is on Summer Street. To the right's Prospect. To the front here is Summer. Maple Street is seen up above, and to the left, High Street. You can see the arrow is pointing to the location of the storm drain that all of this is connected to. So what happens is this brook services a few different sources of water, and water blocks up at that, before it gets to that storm drain. The yellow dotted line is an approximate channel of where it is on those properties. The yellow pond is next to our barn. That's on the Ottman's property next door. And essentially, the pipe or the underground culvert runs across in front of our garage, across the yard, and then cuts a diagonal towards the storm drain. It's in this area that roots and silt and dirt clog the drain. It belongs to the town. Live camera inspections were made in 2020 by Leonard Engineering as a part of the West Side Infrastructure Program. The reports that Leonard provided the town make no mention, and in fact, I asked them if any wells were overflowing in our area that contributed to this. Our highway department superintendent will speak on this, no doubt, and say wells are overflowing. Well, those wells are not overflowing. It's the water level under the ground that's coming up and filling the basement. So they did provide a map on the following slides that show you stormwater drains and the location of the drains and also problems. This is the large drawing. And this is, if you look at it carefully, this area is Summer Street. and 94 Summer Street, you can see in this case, Prospect Street and two lines running, red dotted, running to the left. Those are the areas that Leonard says are a problem. Leonard Engineering just did this. So in 1989, the town helped by cleaning out the culvert when the roots and silt had clogged the water flow. More recently, the stone culvert has failed. It's absolutely failed now. We asked both the highway department and the selectmen for help to remedy the issue. And we started asking these questions like 2 years ago. We're in June now. It was 2 years ago in June that I reinitiated trying to get some help with it. Selectmen told us to bring the project as an article for this town meeting because there is not an easement on our property for this existing infrastructure. Well, in other towns, they recognize antique infrastructure and they fix their problems. So, several times over the course of the last 6 months, 7 months, I've asked, the highway department keeps saying, these are wells that are overflowing. I've asked for the hydrology reports, these big studies that got done, that they keep referring to. We haven't received any kind of report yet. And in fact, Leonard hasn't provided it yet. Again, this is what the water looks like, and this is just a regular old storm. And you can see water channeling down towards Prospect Street. So how will this benefit the town? Okay, what's in it for the town? The existing infrastructure for the town benefits by sending water directly to this storm drain that is supposed to receive the water, but doesn't because of the clogged pipes. And remember, this is town infrastructure. Those pipes are connected to town infrastructure and an existing storm drain. So, instead of pumping out my cellar over onto the side yard so it flows out onto Prospect and Summer Street, it'll prevent unsafe ice buildup on Prospect and Summer Street roadways in the wintertime. That intersection's a bad intersection. If you're coming down Prospect Street, you slide right out there. We've had neighbors complain that water's going out into the street and forming glaciers. It'll also stop flooding roadways in the spring, summer, and fall, and roadway erosion on Prospect and Summer Street. There's a flap of road when the water gets going, flowing very actively. There's a flap of roadway that, no lie, is 6 feet across, 3 feet long, and it flaps up like this. And again, here's a little bit more of a description of the water. So to illustrate this problem, when it rains 1.5 inches, we get 30 inches of water. If my power shuts off for any reason at the house, that is, if we lose electricity, which is common when you have a bad storm, we get 30 inches of water in the basement. 30 inches about right here. All right, in October of 2020, 3 sump pumps removed approximately 66,000 gallons of water in a 3-hour period. 3.5-hour period, sorry. To illustrate what that is, that's 2 above-ground swimming pools worth of water in 3 hours. Imagine that being in your basement. So in recent history, we started talking about this 2 years ago in June. The town didn't believe us. Oh no, there's no infrastructure that's failed. There's no brook. Well, we paid $1,000 to have an excavation done, and here's what they found. This is our property on the left. You're looking east towards Prospect Street, and you can see that the excavator is right dead in back of the house within a very close distance of the house. You can see the shape of the culvert in the middle photograph, and you can see the gentleman cleaning it out, and you can see that how it's actually made. It's made with the fieldstone cap, fieldstone sides, fieldstone bottom, and The right-hand photograph is looking westerly. This is back towards our garage, back towards High Street. So anyway, repair and upkeep on the culvert is really the responsibility of the town. Since it carries stormwater underground through our property as well as through multiple private properties, and it's connected to the town stormwater system. The culvert is not there for our benefit. We don't put anything into that culvert. Nothing comes out of the house. Storm drains off, eaves troughs off the roof don't drain into it. We don't dump anything into it. Our property will not maintain its value if the town continues to allow stormwater to flood the basement. Property owners are not authorized to make any changes to stormwater systems in the town. I can't do anything about it. Further delay addressing the problem is, I consider negligent on the part of the town to maintain a safe and healthy infrastructure. We've done everything that has been asked by the selectmen for the last 2 years, including writing this article for the warrant, getting voters' signatures, and providing 3 competitive quotes. We've gone beyond, I've gone beyond what needs to be done. So anyway, I would like to thank the North Brookfield Fire Department. They continue to take care of us when the power goes out. I know I can pick up the phone and call them. We won't have losses. We're in better than $10,000 on losses, furnace, hot water systems, and then maintenance. So anyway, I thank you for your patience tonight, and I'd like to address any questions that you might have.
Is there anything to be said on this? Sir, identify yourself.
Bob LaFlamme. I currently live at 19 Gilbert Street. I have the same situation as Bruce. I live on 19 Gilbert Street, and there used to be a stream that came behind my house that was culverted years ago. So it's all covered over. There's a catch basin in my backyard, and when it rains very heavily, all the water from the middle of town floods my backyard, which fortunately for us is not close to our house. There's a poor guy down the road on Gilbert Street that has his basement flooded because that whole thing comes behind all of our backyards on Gilbert Street and outlets behind his house, and the town has been taking care of his property back in the day or along the way. So I don't see where the justice is, where this situation is something that the Arnolds can't do anything about. They need some help from the town with this situation, and I think that we should vote to give them that help.
Thank you, Bob.
Pete Nagel on Summer Street. I live just down the hill from Bruce, and we have the identical problem. Some 70 years ago, 65 years ago or so, the town put a 4-foot diameter pipe underneath half of my property. That has been clogged for many years. Gary Jean was going to have it cleaned out before he retired. That never happened. I have as much as 14 to 16 inches of water in my basement. I'm on my 3rd furnace. I've gone through several sump pumps. It's a constant problem. I have half my property is underwater at least 6 months of the year. I've had to tow the tractor out of there. I tried 4-wheel vehicles to pull things out of there. It gets stuck all the time. It's a recurring problem that's been going on for, well, I've been there since 1978. For 37 years of that time, I've been taxed at a billable tax rate of a tax rate of a buildable property. Suddenly, 3 years ago, they decreased my taxes to nothing on that part of the property and said, well, we made a mistake. Well, they also deemed it unbuildable, and it's all possibly because of all the water, and they never did find a right-of-way for that pipe that was put underneath the property, which is now clogged, and I have the same problem that Bruce has and other people have mentioned. So, and water does go downhill, Bruce. I can attest to that. Thank you.
It all goes down.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pete.
Hi,
Rick Ottman, 98 Summer Street. I'm Bruce's neighbor. Due to this condition, we have a sinkhole in our side yard that we have covered over with boards, and could be very dangerous for someone walking back there not knowing what's going on. But it is rather extensive, and it keeps getting a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger. So we have a situation not as urgent as Bruce's, but a situation that I feel is a direct result of the same causality.
Okay, is there anything else to be said?
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to move the questions.
Move to question?
Or
Is there a second? Second. Okay, move and second. Sorry, Dale. It's been moved to question and second. All those in favor of moving to question, raise your hands. Opposed, same sign. Okay, we're going to move on to question. All those in favor, oh, this is going to have to be a ballot vote. Will the tellers please come forward?
Please explain the percentage of vote that needs to be taken on
This is a simple majority because it's raise and appropriate. So will the tellers come up? We need to pass some ballots out. The reason we have to do a ballot vote on this is because it's over $10,000, and by our town bylaws, we have to do a ballot vote on anything like that. So, same thing as last time. If you come down the aisle to this side, vote goes in a wooden box. Say again? A yes is approving the appropriation of this money. A no is no on approving the appropriation of the money. The vote goes in a wooden box. Your discard goes in the bag.
They don't have to touch it because it's on my phone.
I made graduation caps for them.
staged.
So,
Rows in front. Near the lady with the red hair elastic and kind of the longer hair. Right next to her, next to the red flag went over the gold.
that's like the one. Oh, wait, no, she's up. Right. Right. I mean, I see a lot of the same things. Just for this?
Yeah.
Well,
You?
yes, I was this last time, so yeah. I think people think of. Oh. I'm just. Yep. I already have styles picked out. They're in my photo album. A style. Oh my God, literally, I love it. I'll shave my head.
Well, yeah, I've been catching up this year.
So, fun. Pure fun. What?
Solidarity for what?
For fun. For fun. For each other. Just fun. Pure joy. I wonder if Mike's here gone to the psychotic state. Shave her head.
I was like, well, after Heineken messed up.
Hey, the market's
I think it depends on the. Yeah, I would say yes. I'm not saying I agree with you. I'm saying that this is going to happen.
Honey, I gotta go home and let the dog out. He's gonna pee everywhere.
Last call to vote.
Mine are probably running around like lunatics, thrilled that it's almost 10.
Mine would be wide awake.
Mine are probably torturing yours, so I'm sorry.
I told him to bring Jones and Ray.
Because they are wrong.
votes having been tallied, the yes votes are 157, the no votes are 43. The motion carries. Is there any further business to come before this meeting? Okay, is there a second? All in favor of adjourning, raise your hand. Opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. Motion carries. Thank you for
Thanks,
your
Jim.
patience.